So it says, NIH researchers identify brain connections associated with ADHD in youth. Large study finds atypical interaction between frontal cortex and processing centers deep in the brain. And I'm just going to skip down here. It says they found that youth had heightened connectivity between structures deep in the brain involved in learning, movement, reward, and emotion. Caudate, putamen, nucleus, accumbens, seeds, and the structure in front of the frontal area of the brain involved in attention and control of unwanted behaviors. Superior temporal, gyri, insula, inferior parietal lobe, inferior frontal gyri, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. While neuroscience researchers have long suspected that ADHD symptoms result from atypical interactions between the frontal cortex and these deep information processing brain structures, studies testing this model returned mixed findings, possibly due to the small nature of the studies with only 100 or so subjects. Researchers suggest that smaller studies may not be able to reliably detect brain interactions leading to complex behavior seen in ADHD. The findings from this study help further understanding brain processing contributing to ADHD symptoms, which can help with research and advancement. So I just wanted to note that we're talking about the caudate and the putamen, which is the exact same brain organs as Gary Nolan is saying that he's seeing a overconnection of neurons with people that are having UAP experiences. I'm just going to come out and say it, y'all. I'm ADHD, and I've had some UAP experiences in my life, and apparently we've had caudate and putamen increased connectivity, which influences learning, movement, reward, emotion. And I can tell you that neurodivergent people experience emotion and reward a lot differently, especially learning also, and like sensory input, like neuroprocessing. ADHD is a neuroprocessing disease as well as other diseases. As far as movement, luckily I really don't have that as much, but I know other people, that's what it was saying, even within 100 or so subjects, the variability is so high that it's hard to study this stuff because everybody's so different. So like other people who may have other neurodivergent diseases may have different issues with movement and reward and whatever, but it seems like neurodivergency, we were talking about telepathy tapes earlier and the fact that allegedly like autistic nonverbal people are extremely psychic and have some sort of enhanced abilities or clarity that normal, quote-unquote normal people are not capable of. We may be looking at that exact same sort of thing. So I want to move on here to, this is like some app. I don't know anything about this app. I wouldn't recommend the app. I don't know anything about it, so I don't know. I'm just going to read this one paragraph off of the website that talks about why they designed the app, the science behind that. And it says, neurobiology of inner knowledge. We experience our brains as a single organism. Hold on, let me zoom in for anybody who's watching the video. If there's anybody still watching. We experience our brains as a single organism, deciphering information and informing consciousness. But the multivariable complexity of the organ is far from being fully understood. We do know that the brain is compartmentalized, and consciousness is only one small piece of the puzzle. So the brain is compartmentalized. There's all these different organs, it's like a car engine, all going at once to all make it move forward, let's say. In 2011, a group of Japanese neuroscientists set out to identify the source of intuition in the brain. They turned to shogi, which can be thought of as an incredibly complicated version of Japanese chess. Like chess players, accomplished shogi players understand the game intuitively, often knowing the winning moves unconsciously before they can articulate why. Using functional MRI, researchers scanned the brains of professional shogi players whilst giving them only 1 second to find the winning move on a shogi board. A tiny piece of the basal ganglia lit up with activity, the caudate nucleus. So the basal ganglia is like a ganglia is like a connection, a group of a bunch of different processing organs. So they're talking about a group of organs all coming together for a ganglia, which is like its own organ, which is inside the organ of a brain. The brain's really complicated, you guys. It comes to a whole bunch of different points, and that's why, like, depending on where you get hit in the head, different stuff happens. You know, some people get hit in the back of the head, and different stuff happens. Like, it all depends on what organ is impacted. So this may not be the only source of intuition, but appears to be the brain's intuitive hotspot. Studies in cats and humans suggest the caudate nucleus is involved in helping us to form relationships, among other things. Though perhaps not an immediately obvious connection, recognizing and correctly reacting to complex behaviors of our fellow man is a Herculean task. It is rarely accomplished without some sense of intuition. This may be why some of our hunches involve human relationships, which is super fascinating. Especially that it's talking about interspecies relationships. And, like, let's extrapolate that to ufology again. So this is saying that people with these brain setups are able to form relationships, possibly with other species, in different ways, or possibly better than some of the other, like, things. So I'm saying that, like, I put this together a couple years ago, and, like, even if I literally have been looking at this for a couple years, like, since 2021, since this guy came out with this thing and said this thing 4 fucking years ago, I put all of this together. And if you go and read this today, and you were to, like, Google this stuff, like these exact brain organs and ADHD and psychic or psionic, whichever words you want to get, you only come up with like 3 hits and all of the internet. There's only been like 3 or 4 people that have ever connected this stuff and posted about it on the internet, and none of them had anything else about the Nazi stuff or any of the stuff about the government or any of the stuff like this. So, like, quite possibly, potentially, as far as I can tell, I'm the first human being to put all of this stuff together in one place, and I hope other people will, like, start to work on this. We need a bunch of other people working on this, not just the CIA, because they're gonna screw us over with this stuff. I'm telling you. So I just wanted to say that, like, some people will say that, you know, autism or ADHD isn't real or stuff like that, and I just wanted to show something. This is from January 24th, 2025, and it says that a study published in 2023 revealed a difference in how children with autism or ADHD clear common plastic additive bisphenol A, BPA, compared to neurotypical children. BPA is used in a lot of plastics and plastic production processes and can be found inside food and drink cans. However, previous research has linked it to health issues involving hormone disruption, including breast cancer and infertility. Researchers from Rowan University and Rutgers University in the US looked at 3 groups of children, 66 with autism, 46 with ADHD, and 37 neurotypical kids. In particular, they had analyzed the process of glucuronidation. I don't know how to pronounce that. A chemical process the body uses to clear out toxins within the blood through urine. They found that kids with ASD and ADHD couldn't clear out BPA and another compound called diethylxylphthalate, DEHP, with as much efficiency as other kids, potentially leading to longer exposures to their toxic effects. Detoxification of these 2 plasticizers is in compromised children with ASD and ADHD Consequently, their tissues are more exposed to these two plasticizers. It was only the case of the BPA that the difference was statistically different, though. The efficiency was reduced by about 11% with ASD and 17% for kids with ADHD compared to control group. The researchers think that gene mutations in certain individuals means that the BPA can't be as cleared as easily as it needs to be, which means the substance sticks around the body. That could potentially cause damage in the form of neuron development and operation. Conditions like ASD and ADHD are thought to involve a combination of genetic and environmental influences, and this new study brings together both of them. However, it's only part of the story. Not every child with a neurodevelopmental disorder had problems flushing out BPA, so there are other factors at play too. Work is continuing to identify exactly how ASD and ADHD people and develop in people. Well, let me re-say that. How exactly ASD and ADHD develops in people, whether it is in utero before birth, for example, or later in life, as the data isn't clear enough to show whether BPA exposure causes either disorder. There's extensive body of epidemiological evidence for a relationship between neurodevelopmental disorders and environmental pollutants, such as plasticizers. How important plasticizer-originated neurodevelopmental disorders is in the overall occurrence of these disorders is not known. But it must account for a significant portion, or it would not be so easily detected in a metabolic study of moderate size as this study. So for all the people, like, I've actually had people tell me that ADHD is fake. And here we have a thing saying that ADHD people metabolize plastic differently. You know, like, I wish I could shove this in their face. All the people that said that ADHD is fake over the years. So, almost done here. We're just gonna go over ADHD, neurodivergent, and psychic type of stuff. And I'll start out by saying that neurodivergency has a lot of different forms, and it seems like not all of them are equal. Some of them have benefits, some of them don't, some of them are only bad, and we just don't understand them at all. And even here, it's trying to, put ADHD as a damage, as a bad thing, which some ADHD is, undoubtedly. Like we were just talking about how with plastic, it like makes it to where you don't get rid of it as easily. That's obviously a bad thing. But with shamanism and anthropologically, that the use of neurodivergence in society in ancient times was something that was celebrated and a tool that people went to solve their problems, and it was something that was celebrated rather than looked at as a derogatory or detrimental thing. It was looked at as an asset, and these people, typically, these neurodivergent people would be more likely to be like creative or expert or even shaman type people, and but at the same time they're kind of eccentric. And I feel like, well, there's evidence in history that, like I said, these things were celebrated and used, the diversity, like they used it as a tool to solve their problems and connect to possibly other dimensions. Like we have the CIA talking about other dimensions and stuff like that, and that we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars sending combat veterans with bronze stars in to investigate poltergeists and exorcism and stuff, and they come back affected. And if they don't, then their family was affected. And they find out that while they were in there studying whatever paranormal stuff was happening, their family was being affected at the same time. And I think that has to do with the fact that we're sending in people trained to kill other people in weapons of war to make first contact with these alleged intelligences from other dimensions or other non-corporeal beings, or even like corporeal beings, other intelligences, I don't think that we should be sending weapons of war, people, combat veterans that have killed other people, to go and be our representatives. And I get that they don't even realize that that's what they're doing, but whenever people are having paranormal stuff and you send some army combat guy out there and he has a bad experience, and then the Pentagon says that everything's evil, well, maybe if this intelligence is really exists out there, maybe we shouldn't send a weapon to talk to them. Maybe we should send somebody like this, like an ADHD, neurodivergent shaman type of person, to go and make contact with these intelligences that that it isn't a weapon, that isn't trained to kill, that isn't trained to maim and take life from. We're taught that the human body is like an embodiment of God, or that we're made in God's image or whatever. And like, what is a military person other than somebody trained to destroy God's image? I mean, quite literally. So maybe we shouldn't send somebody like that to make first contact. And I think that, like, hopefully the CIA and Pentagon will figure that out. And I think that they are in part figuring that out. And that if you send a weapon into a situation with paranormal activity, you shouldn't be surprised if that person's family has negative interactions, or that person has negative interactions. Because what would the other side perceive that as, other than some sort of attack from a weapon? So they're going to counterattack. So I don't know if that's what's been going on. But I had talked about, like, in one of the episodes, like, if our government or CIA or scientists were clandestinely making contact with non-corporeal beings, that could be a bad thing. Well, like, the people themselves can make contact and do grassroots communication themselves. Should this stuff, like a lot of CE5 stuff is coming out into public right now, and a lot of people are talking about that with the whole psionics and the children's and stuff like that. So hopefully it all will work out, but we just can't let the, like, CIA, like, Nazi people have a monopoly on this sort of technology and ideology and knowledge of ourselves. Because if we knew this, it would change everything about society. This is like the other nexus point. This is like the nexus point next to the torture program. Because how did they get to the fact that all these brain organs do all this stuff? Is by trying to control the brain with MK Ultra. That's how they've found all this stuff. And the Stargate remote viewing program, with Operation Stargate, you compare the MRI things at Gary Nolan to the Stargate people, and it's identical. So we're talking about the same stuff here, with remote viewing. These people having the same setup with the organs. So once again, like, we can't let them have a monopoly on this. We need to have the people start focusing on this sort of stuff to bring about world peace. We have an economy based on oppression and inequality. That's like, and supremacy. That's basically like what this whole episode has been about, is kind of beating around the bush about the global banking financial system. And those are the ones that are coming together to suppress this. Because if we realized that by hurting one another and exploiting one another and being a supremacist, that it was backfiring and that it was limiting us as a whole, not just individually, but both individually and as a species and as a future, like all of our future generations are also being held back by this. So it's imperative that we learn our true nature of ourselves. Like, everybody's so lost right now, and this right here is the answer to it. This is the clarity that, like, we could have a totally different world, and this is like the instant snap of the finger switch that would happen. That if we were to figure this out, like, everything would change. So I'll just start to finish up here. The caudate nucleus is a part of the brain that's been linked to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Studies have shown the caudate nucleus is involved in learning, movement, reward, emotion. I think that it was saying that the caudate is not symmetrical in ADHD people, and that there's says that asymmetry in caudate nucleus predicted the severity of attention behaviors in ADHD. So like they can look at the shape of your caudate and be able to, I guess, tell what symptoms and severity you will have. I guess they would also be able to maybe tell your intuitive ability, like we were reading over here with this Japanese neuroscientist group of intuition. So like what I'm describing here is how the CIA can do brain scans and look at your brain and be able to tell by the shape of your organs if you would have this intuitive ability or not, or at least a highly like a guess if you would be able to do that. So that's how they can figure out if children are able to be inducted into their programs. And I assume that also has a lot to do with the telepathy tapes of what the CIA is doing with that sort of stuff, as well as going back to Area 51, the telepathic, like, small being. They said they were child-sized, so I don't know if they were children or just child-sized. I'm really not sure. I have a feeling that they were children. I really do. And I have a feeling that the CIA mainly uses children for this sort of stuff, and that it's extremely dark, and that not everybody is brought into it. Some people are just monitored. Sometimes I think that the ET selects people, and then the government comes and investigates afterwards. Like sometimes I think the CIA picks people to work with, and sometimes I think the ET picks people to work with, based on all of this sort of stuff. So brain connectivity, youth with ADHD increased connectivity between the caudate and frontal cortex, which controls attention and behavior. Brain volume, children with ADHD have reduced brain matter in the caudate nucleus and other regions. Other ADHD brain abnormalities in the ventral striatum, associated with reward processing, reduced volume in basal ganglia and insula, reduced volume in amygdala and hippocampus, abnormalities in ventromedial frontal regions, delayed cortical thickness maturation in frontal, temporal, and parietal regions. They found that youth with ADHD had heightened connectivity between structures. I already read that. That's from the NIMH article. I'm still reading, making sure that I haven't missed anything. Washington is stepping up efforts to probe possible alien activities after officials admitted they cannot explain the phenomenon of UFO sightings. Defense officials announced a new UFO task force. Nolan said that approximately a quarter of the MRA patients died from the injuries. Already read that. Okay, so I guess we're done. Yay, we're done. So further reading necessary, needing to compile the Nazis and their corporations more in depth. So that's kind of more what we need to do. I need to finish Ellen Dulles' book, the Devil's Chessboard. I'm like halfway through that. Everything else I've completely finished that I've gone through here. But so after that, I'm probably going to try to go to IBM and the Holocaust, Strategic Alliance between Nazi Germany and America's most powerful corporation, and the Nazis next door, how America became a safe haven for Hitler's men. Eric Lichtbau. So And then that PBS documentary that it was talking about. Here, let me find that. All right. Well, that was extremely interesting and very long. I think just shy of 5 hours of talking. So I need to start editing. And yeah, that was the season finale. Holy moly, I'm done. I did it. All right. Well, so I will probably come back and talk about these things again and flesh them out again. This was like just breaking down the door and getting everything done at once. I hope that you guys can read those books as well as circle back to Todd Miller's stuff. Empire of Borders, as well as the one that has the blue cover. I can't think of the name of it. It was the one that I liked the most. But Todd Miller's stuff, as well as Annie Jacobson's Area 51, Operation Paperclip, Sidney Gottlieb's Poisoner in Chief, and Alan Dulles' Devil's Chessboard. Those 4 books, incredible. Read them, get caught up, so that we can start on season 2. Peace out, everybody. I will start on season 2 immediately and put some stuff up on the Patreon for those people ASAP. So thank you guys so much. Adios.
30 seconds and counting.
Aye.
Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds.
Feet 5'4", nothing to a giant. Waited my turn, call it perfect time and trust the Most High. Got the stars aligning, I was tapped in. I've been strategizing, dreams coming true. I've been fantasizing while you criticize. Pay attention to the signs, symbolized. Feel like a legend, they go idolize. Ayy, I'm a hero, wear my cape. Independent leader made a way. I'm the people's voice, hip hip parade. Stuck to my pace, the turtle win the race. There's trophies on trophies, views from the townscape. Change is great, pray, then I had to skate. God told me time to go elevate. Chosen child, I'm the champ now, not a featherweight. Man, I'm so blessed, I just meditate. Peace of mind, that's what you get when you out the way. By any means, I just listen what Malcolm say. Studied the game, I'm a student, learned every day. Stacking my bucks and I'm not talking Tampa Bay. Running the game, feel like first in the relay. Hand me my medal, took it to new levels. All gas on the pedal, not stagnant, cause settle, nah. Yeah, hey, we see you very soon. This what I'm here to do. Here to inspire you. We headed to the moon. Look, yeah, I'm living proof. About to blast off like Zoo. We about to take the roof.
We have a liftoff.
We headed to the moon. Just for the culture, stacking our beats like it's Folgers. We on the move, we in motion. I believe I got a notion. Nothing but love, that's devotion. Budgets don't cost me, I'm with the commotion. I can be Batman, then turn to the Joker. Debo with the loafers. I'm trying to stay focused. I see it, I want it. That's hocus and pocus. And voila, it's all in my hands, but I give it to Allah. He blessed me with more and more overflow. Tada, I know I'm the best. I don't need your fake shout-outs. I'm putting the work like an OVO night owl. The realest, you see it. I know that you notice. I keep it 100, never sugar-coated. I'm locked and I'm loaded. Pockets getting bloated. The goat on the mic, you deaf is who they voted. Yeah, hey, we see you very soon. This what I'm here to do. Here to inspire you. We headed to the moon. Look, yeah, I'm living proof. About to blast off like Zoo. We about to take the roof.
We have a liftoff.
We headed to the moon.